All right, so once everything is on and we're all ready to go, we're gonna hit go fly. You can see the screen comes up with the view of the drone. We have control over the gimbal here on the left side. Now we're gonna start off in auto exposure mode. And this helps just make sure that I can see everything, that once I get up into the sky a little bit, I can see where I'm going, see what's around me, and then I can switch over to manual and actually dial in the controls how I want to. So once we're ready to go, tap off of auto there, and we're gonna tip these two sticks down and away from each other. That's gonna get the propeller starting. And then we're just gonna push up on the left joystick, and the drone is in the air. So you can see we're still on auto. Going up, we have full control here. We have about 23 minutes of flight time based on what the battery is saying here. So we can see everything here. We're gonna go up to let's go back to 100 feet. There we are, so we're right at 100 feet there. Just gonna pan around here and get a nice little view. So the sun's setting over here on these houses, so let's just take it over there. So I'm gonna actually do a recording, and I'm shooting in 4K 30. So we can switch that to 4K 60 if we want to. It's one of my favorite features, is being able to shoot 4K 60. So we're gonna take it up. We're gonna go about 130 feet here. That looks good. So now we're just gonna push forward on the joystick. So I'm just in the standard mode. I'm not in the ludicrous mode. I'm not in the precision mode. So I think my max now is about 20 miles an hour. We're going about 15. I'm just gonna take it out straight over this house. There's no turns, nothing fancy. So right now we're about 500, 600 feet away from this starting point. Tilt the gimbal down. Kind of get a nice flyby of that little house there. So like that. I'm gonna take it up a little bit. Now I do have the overexposure meters on. So all this zebra that you see here on these houses, that means we are overexposed on these white faces of the houses. So because of that, I'm actually gonna take the recording off here. I'm gonna switch this over to manual, and that gives me full control over the ISO, the shutter, all of those things. So I can actually see, I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit. And even just that one little adjustment helps me there. Not always what matters for the shot. So we're gonna take this over. We're gonna do a nice little top-down looking shot over this construction. So I'm gonna rotate this over. We're gonna go top-down. We're just gonna go straight between this alley here. We're gonna see if we can get this on the first take. All right, so I'm gonna start my recording. Now it's not perfect out here for fun, but we're gonna give this a shot. You can see we drifted off just a little bit over to the right, and we're not actually even center on that driveway there. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna nudge it over to the left just a little bit, and I'm just gonna do the same shot. I'm just gonna fly it backwards. There's no movement in this shot, so it's not gonna matter for what we're trying to do here. And you could say this is a little bit underexposed, but we're just gonna keep going with it anyway. All right, so I went ahead and turned off the zebra overexposure meters on there. And I'm gonna turn this around and try to get the sunset. We lost a little bit of light over the buildings. So I'm gonna try to take this down and expose just for the sunset. So you can see here, we can go about as dark as we want. I do have an ND filter on there. It's a ND 32, so it's kind of set up for being a big sunny day. It was a little bit ago. The sun has kind of gone down now, but no worries. So we're gonna hit record. You'll see this more in the post-editing of the clip, but I'm just gonna pull it back. You can kind of see that little body of water down there below the sun. You can see that kind of moving around. So a shot like that I could take into Premiere and I could play it forward or backwards. I could speed it up. So it could be just, you know, kind of a fun B-roll shot. So we're gonna flip the drone around. One thing I do love is that even if you're a little bit underexposed here because you're exposed to the sun, you don't know where you are, you kind of lost a little bit of line of sight, or it's just too small, it's far away and you can't quite pinpoint where it is, you can always hit the map up here. So this red line will show you the fastest flying route back to you. So you can see the point there for the drone, and when you actually rotate the drone, that point will rotate and it'll show you which way it's facing forward. So if I wanted to fly it forward straight back to me and I still was underexposed, overexposed, couldn't see it, whatever, battery was dying, I needed to get back, I can quickly do that and get it back to me in the straightest of lines instead of trying to fly my path back or fly it around until I find it. So I'm gonna flip this around. We're gonna try to use a little bit of this last light. About 15 minutes left on the recording. I don't want to go too high on the ISO. So I'm going to take this down. There we go. We're shooting at 30 frames a second, so I'm going to go for the 180 rule and put it at 160. Not going to matter too much because we're not doing slow-mo with it, so the shutter speed won't affect it too much. I can definitely get away with that. So there's a bunch of new buildings here, a bunch of plots of land that are yet to be developed, but we're kind of off to the side and I want to get over to those buildings. I do have a good line of sight to get over there with the drone, and we're only currently 100 feet away from our home point. So I'm just going to take it straight over there. I'm going to pop that to 800. We do seem a little bit overexposed, so I'm just going to take this down. And if you're setting up an actual professional shot you want to use in a real video, you might want to get the correct ND filter on, you might want to mess with the settings more and get this dialed in exactly where you want it. For this reason, I'm just kind of out showing off the drone because I love it. I wanted to show off some of the flight, some of the features, and so I'm not too concerned with that right now. So I'm going to actually try one of the features. So we tap up here on the GPS, we have normal camera mode, dynamic track, viewpoint, orbit, and waypoint. So I'm going to do, in this video, I'm just going to hit viewpoint. So anything above this red line is where I can tap. I'm going to tap right there. I'm going to hit start. And you can tell the drone is going to take off straight towards that point. So it does default and only go about 2 to 2.2 miles per hour on this track. So as you're watching here, you can see it's still very slow. It's not getting very far, but we do have manual control that we can take it over. So now we're going around 4 miles an hour, 5, 6, we're up to 10. So it's going to track that point and it's going to stay locked going straight towards that point. So I don't have to do any control on the left stick. I can just fly straight towards that point, adjust the speed to what I want it to be. And as I approach and I get close to my shot, I can slow that down. Now I'm not actually recording this one, so we'll call it just a little test run. The other thing you can do is you can let it slow down if you don't want to actually control it. There's a little button right here that I can take up what speed I want it to fly at. So if I want to automate this run, let's see, go ahead and record. I'm going to take it up a little higher so I keep a good line of sight. So it's still going to keep track of that point, that horizon. It's going to fly forward. We're going at about 10 miles an hour. And as I approach there, I'm going to speed it up a little more. And so as I approach, I could let this shot just run and do its thing, and then I can adjust the gimbal as I want to. So I'm just going to slowly go down with this gimbal and say that's the kind of shot that I wanted. Boom, right there. So I'm going to exit out of that. So I don't want to go too far. So make sure you're not about to run into anything, or you're not running straight towards something, because it does take a little bit of control to get that to turn off. So we're going to fly on back. So these are just a few of the features that I like to use commonly. There's all sorts of features. Hopefully I'll cover them in another video. Dynamic track, you can select a subject and it'll track that point. I did test this a couple days ago, and it was in a high contrast area. I selected a truck, I was a couple hundred feet up, and as that truck was driving through the neighborhood, I just let it track it and let it kind of follow it, let it do its thing. And it turned out really well. I've heard some complaints about this feature that it doesn't quite work that well, and if you don't have a point of high contrast of the subject that you're trying to track, it can have some trouble tracking that thing. And the orbit is basically what it says. It's going to go around in a circle. So you can take it up straight above you, start the home point, send it out 50 feet, and it'll make a 50-foot radius circle around you, all while maintaining the camera facing towards you. So we're going to go back to camera. We can switch out and go into photo mode. It's going to give us a little bit wider view. We are still on manual. Let's just go back to auto to make it a little bit easier to see for this purpose. So say we wanted to come over here, we want to take a picture of these courts at Lifetime Fitness. It's not the greatest shot, not the greatest lighting, but we're going to get one of these corner perspectives here. So since we're already on auto, I'm just going to leave it there and see what kind of result I get. I'm going to tap on that point. It's going to lock the exposure to that point that I tapped at. Now we can hit the photo button here, take the picture. I find that's actually the easiest. Or you can also press the button for the shutter right there. So we'll call that pretty good right there. We'll take the picture, processing, and there we have it. Awesome. So we're going to turn that back. Let's go do the same thing over here by this park. So I'm going to take it down a little bit lower. There are no power lines underneath me. I've looked already. So they are putting in this park. I'm going to go right above it. I'm going to do a top-down look on it. So it's saying that I have 6 minutes left. So since that battery there is under 7 minutes, it's going to go ahead and return back to me. And you can see the battery drop below the allowed amount. So the drone went ahead, took away controls from me, it auto returned. Luckily it worked out great. It flew straight back to me. It's coming right down now. And that's the end of the flight.